What up, y'all? It's your boy Solo, and this is Slim, and this is jeniusAF. Little J, Big AF. I got to apologize right up top. I have been feeling a touch under the weather. We have had a myriad of different technological issues, but we are right back on that ass to make sure that we give you the content that you not only need, but frankly deserve. So, today, what are we talking about, Slim?
Hey man, I just want to talk to you guys a little bit today about money and what that means to to our society and what it means to the world in general.
For sure. And given that I am a little bit under the weather, my throat, I'm not sure if you guys can hear it, but it's still a little sore. My nose is running like a faucet. I'm really disgusting over here, to be honest with y'all. So he's gonna be taking the lead on a lot of this. I'm gonna chime in. Don't worry, you'll still get to hear my lovely voice through all this horse shit. That actually worked, double entendre. Anyways, but no, where'd you want to start off with, man?
So, I think I hit you up a couple weeks ago, right?
Yeah.
With the whole idea of okay, even on a Christian value, they say money is the root of all evil. And you hear money doesn't buy you happiness. And so we've been taught that growing up, it's oh yeah, don't chase the money. And to a certain degree, I understand where they're coming from, right? Don't always be focused on trying to get the bag and everything. But that's not how this country was set up, though.
Yeah.
This country was set up on the idea of using free labor, which basically equates to free money, in order to build everything.
Well, let's back that up a little bit. I'm not sure how much you know before when black people get introduced, I guess, to put it incredibly lightly, to American history, quote unquote. But because I know somebody somewhere, if this ever takes off, is going to be well, actually, Africans, the entire country of Africa, quote unquote, Africans used to sell each other all the time to each other, and they were way worse to each other than we ever were. Usually it's some greasy white dude, but no offense to regular white dudes, y'all are neat. This particular type though, not the one. But no, how I know a decent amount about it from studying some of it and getting into the mythology and things of that nature of different countries in Africa. For those who didn't know that Africa is not a country, still in the year of our Lord, the current year. But how do you feel about that aspect of it? Because that is a point of contention to begin with, but I do have thoughts on it. So how you feel about different countries in Africa and the way they treated free labor, let's call it.
Right. And so when you look back at some of the historical sides of Africa, right, and you look at, they considered us to be uncivilized.
Yeah.
Well, that clearly was not true. There were trade routes, there were, financial aspects that were not tied into actual paper money.
Yeah.
And so when we look at it going back, what it really boils down to is the fact that we've been lied to about our history.
Definitely. I mean,
and about how how uncivilized we were. Africa's not some uncivilized country.
Honestly, yeah.
And I'm sorry, I just said it out loud.
I know what you.
Some uncivilized continent.
I know what you meant, man.
And the countries in Africa, no, but the countries in Africa are not uncivilized either. They just come from a different way of life.
Yeah, I mean, out of necessity, really. It's not the same territory, even if you wanted to get into just the general geography of it, You couldn't do, literally, you couldn't live the same way in sub-Saharan Africa that you could in, Colorado.
And not into getting, fan fiction and stuff, but, I think a lot of people, when they saw the movie, the Black Panther, right?
Yep.
They're like, oh, there's all this hidden stuff in Africa. Not like that. But at the same time, we are like those countries are civilized to a point where it's not like they're struggling.
Yeah, not in the way that it's perceived in the media for sure, you know.
Exactly.
But
Like,
let me
like this is not like those donation commercials where you see like that little starving child in Africa. That's not every single country.
right, the little kid with flies in his eyes, like it's
Exactly.
like
Like, bro, what?
have you ever gone to like an inner city anywhere actually? Because like you can see a handful of people that would fit right in with those commercials, like actually, and that kind of brings us
Bro,
to the modern day. But we'll get there in a second. But like I was gonna say, a lot of people just I ring this bell anytime I can. A lot of people think like, oh well, the African people used to enslave each other and sell each other to other tribes and stuff like that. It's like there were I'm gonna say two main facets, but quick addendum. I'm not from Africa. This is what I've gotten from people from Africa, studying a lot of the cultures over there, in what I would assume is a very historical but baseline capacity. So what I've seen is there's like two main facets of slave, or were two main facets of slavery in Africa. Like pre-American history, I guess technically current American history. Um,
right.
there were like the tribes that were like kind of based in violence, kind of like the Roman Spartans and everything. Same thing, just usually a different shade of people. And then there was,
Like the warrior tribes.
yeah, absolutely, like the type of stuff people think of. And they didn't really keep slaves too much. They usually kept concubines, which I'm not condoning by any means, but it's very different. I think we can all agree on that. And then the men, if they worked them at all, they usually killed them afterwards. So like, it's not even necessarily the same thing there. Um, but like it, the other side of that was agricultural, and a lot of the agricultural societies over there would have slaves because they had bartering systems, and usually it was prisoners of war. And one thing that I learned that I've never heard about from anybody, and I mean literally any single person that's talked about it, is that the people in Africa could work for their freedom back. Actually, like they became literally considered a part of the family of the people that they were. It was more like an indentured servitude internship program. like, like, oh, you just work for free for us, and then eventually you'll marry my daughter and you'll be a part of my family. You'll take my last name and you'll continue our tribe and blah 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 blah. So it wasn't like, hey, you are no better to me than livestock, and I will beat you as such, because that's stupid. The only reason you would ever do that, and I'm about to tie it back around, get ready for this fucking whiplash. The only reason you would ever beat a human being that was doing work for you is if you thought that you had enough money to buy another human being to replace the first one when they die.
And so, but see that goes back into like the monetary system was completely different.
True.
Like they base their value, like the high value, on goods and services, basically.
Yeah, yeah.
It wasn't tied into some, coin or some paper.
Definitely.
And that was just like basically developed in Europe. Europe took that and they brought that over here.
And even then, it didn't work. They bartered in America, like with the natives and everything, or indigenous people. I'm not sure which one's the technically correct term anymore, but I mean no offense to anybody, obviously. But yeah, they tried to bring paper money in, and every state, like in the first original 13 or whatever, had their own currency to this day. And nobody find me and try to take it because I don't remember where it is. But I still have an Alabama $5 bill from back when you had to change your money over from state to state. Like they treated it like it was a different nationality almost, which is kind of what we do now, but that's kind of outside of the scope of this conversation. But excuse me. Yeah, it's like it ended up being a bartering system, which is fine. Don't get me wrong. Like if you can do that, then do that. But when we talk about other cultures and how they're uncivilized, a lot of it ends up being like, oh, they don't even have paper money. Like, neither did you for a minute. So, who's even wrong in this? Like, what's your point? Like, neither one's really better than the other one. It just means that you get to decide what that currency is. And I think, in a weird way, that's almost more fair than money to begin with. Because if I have stuff and you want the stuff I have, I hope you have stuff that I want too. Period.
But even now, like they always say that money is based off of, it's backed up by gold.
Oh, not
Because
anymore.
otherwise, it's just paper. Well, no, I'm saying, but that's what it was.
Oh,
It
yeah.
was backed up by gold.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And now that's gone. Like the price of gold is not the same as our money anymore.
Yep.
And so, what is money at this point, right? And why is it really tied into this idea of being evil? Is like my main question.
Well, to take it back, like to the start of becoming civilized America, so to speak, if you want to call it that. Like you do have to go back to all the slavery stuff, Like
Right.
we as a nation did not become. I don't care who says what about it. We as a nation didn't become as strong as we were, due to our military prowess, right? Because if that was the case, when when England was like, "Hey, we're taking over our colony again," it wouldn't have been that big a deal. We would have smited them, smote them, took them clean off the map, you know, like no problem. But that wasn't the case. It was a big deal, right? And we just so happened to know the land better because of the natives, who helped out to their own disadvantage. It turned out, people not holding up their end of the bargain, but we'll get there. Uh,
Free
but
labor.
yeah, true, right? Kind of rolls right back into it, right? But excuse me. Sorry, anybody just tuning in, I'm still sick. But yeah, it ends up being that you see the more you look into it and the more you look for it. And I know a lot of people are gonna feel some kind of way about that terminology, but hear me out. The more you look for it, the more you see that there was money not changing hands where it should have to, build America the way it was built. So we have, we don't have the best military. We couldn't. We didn't have enough people. England was big as shit. They were colonizing any fucking plot of land with brown people on it. They were trying to take over. Like it was just fucking gangbusters. It was nonsense. Absolutely heinous shit going on. And they were just getting at it, getting at it, getting at it. And then little old America is like, oh, we can do this because the natives showed us how. I mean, we taught us how. We learned it. We learned it ourselves. We big, strong, pilgrim, etc. But you got to a point where it's like the only way, like literally, no matter how you look at it, no matter which historian you ask, as long as they are actually looking at all the facts involved, no matter how you slice it, free labor had to have been involved because you were too small, you knew too little about the land, you were too sick in a lot of scenarios, you were too fair skinned, and that's not me being shitty or funny, that's me being literal. Like, you had so many disadvantages, like, just at your disposal, essentially, that there is no possible way that you could have gotten as far as you got had it not been for people who were stronger, faster, able to withstand the heat better, the sun better, people that were viewed as disposable, quote unquote breedable, things of that nature. And it's gross and it sucks, but that free labor, that usage of people as a currency, thus showing it as money, being kind of evil with that, just to tie it all together. That's
Right.
that's what ended up really pushing things forward.
And so that's where I'm just like, money itself wasn't the evil part. The evil part was how people used that monetary system. And so when you go back and you think about, well, how were those people who were traded for money, how were they viewed later on? Well, the natives, indigenous people.
Yep.
They were called savages.
Any
Right?
non-white person was called savage.
Right. And so like I'm like, so you're calling them savages. Well, let's just take this scenario for a minute. Somebody off the street walks into your house. Or matter of fact, not even your house. They're just standing there in your yard.
Yeah.
And they're just saying, oh, I'm here now. And by decree of my family, this is now my yard. You gonna look at that person halfway like they nuts and probably call the police.
I'm gonna call a couple more folks in the police. It's gonna be some coroners
So,
called.
and so now I'm just like, how do we get to the point where we were so mad at them for fighting back? Oh, well, the savages were coming after us and they were trying to kill us.
Well,
You walked into their front yard and said, this is mine.
listen, see, you're acting like a crazy black right now. What you gotta understand, what you have to understand, is that we were trying to manifest our destiny. Do you understand what that means? We were trying to go in there and do what God had brought us there to do, which was, what do they call it in Viking terms? Raping and pillaging. That's it. We were going to come into the land, and we were going to do whatever the fuck we wanted. And because we had the boom boom sticks, and y'all have the pew pew sticks with the arrows and whatnot, you're not going to do shit to me. And when we ask you for your help, you come up off that help smooth, or I'll kill your family. And that's the long and the short of it.
And so then money gets tied in because here's the thing now. So now they've shown you their entire country. So you know where everything is.
Yeah.
You know where the resources are. You know where the resources are not. You know how to like farm and get food, which is part of that barter system that all our uncivilized countries use.
Yep.
So now that barter system that helps you with food and livestock that you can trade, that you know about because of those quote unquote savages.
Yep.
So now you're getting free labor from them.
Also,
they've shown you where everything is.
Quick tangent. Quick tangent. Who the fuck ever heard of a savage farmer? That is the silliest, like, fucking combination of words, the most oxymoronic shit. Like, just some Jethro-looking motherfucker throwing spears at you, trying to, get off my property, or whatever the fuck. Some bumpkin dude. Sorry, like, that truly fucking threw my brain for a loop. Go on, my bad. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, but, like, that's like okay, so now they've shown you how to farm.
Yeah.
They've shown you where the resources are for water. They've shown you a map of the land.
Where to go, where not to go.
That's all stuff that they did for free.
Yep.
If someone asks you to do that today, oh yeah, show me where all these resources are. Show me where all this, we pay for that.
Mm-hmm.
No one shows you how to go make money for free.
No.
You have to pay for education.
And even if you don't pay, somebody's paying.
So I'm saying, like, somebody's paying for education, whether it's taxes or not.
Yep.
So all that stuff you got for free. Then, not only did you say, oh, that work that you just showed me how to do is too hard, let me go get some other people from other countries. Let me bring them over here.
Right.
And now they're going to do that work that you just showed me how to do for free. Now they're going to do it for free.
It's ridiculous, man.
And so you see this whole evil system being used, but somehow that gets tied into money.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's where a lot of the disconnect is, right?
Yeah.
People are saying the money is the evil thing. Nah. Money just shows you what's evil in you. Money itself is just a tool.
Yeah.
And then it just gets used in evil manners. Like, that's where I'm just like, I get so frustrated. Sometimes people say, oh, yeah, money's the root of all evil. Money's not the root.
People.
Money's just a tool.
People are the root.
People.
Like,
We're the root of all evil.
I always think about money twofold. Like one, I think of it as like a superpower, and on the other hand, I think of it as the world's largest hammer. Allow me to explain. with with the world's largest hammer, you can hammer a lot of shit, right? Just absolutely brawlic tool, and you can barely hold it upright. Any nail cowers before it, etc. But you could also kill somebody with that hammer easily, like probably by accident if you just weren't careful, right? You trip and you drop your hammer and it hits a baby. Boom, that baby is now blood mist, and everybody's crying. Now, did you mean to do that? That's kind of debatable, but in reality, it doesn't matter if you meant to or not. Manslaughter still exists, and you're still going to prison, right? But it is a tool, but it is such an OP tool. It's so overpowered that there's nothing you can do about it, which folds right into the next point. It's a superpower. You can do, like, if you really think about it, almost every superpower you can think of, actually, like from comic books, like genuine works of fiction slash science fiction slash fantastical fiction. Almost every single thing you can think of has some kind of analogous way of being made realized through money. Like, oh, how could I turn invisible with money? Huh? You can't turn invisible with money. Yeah, you can easily. People buy islands. People buy islands and do real fucked up shit on those islands, but it's international waters, right? So like, you got money, yeah, truly. Like you can literally go invisible. You can go dark. Nobody will know where you are. Can you fly? Yeah, that's a really easy one. You can buy a private jet. Just go wherever you want to. You want to go super fast? Okay, buy a Bugatti. Boom. Now you're going faster than anything really. Like buy a fucking Formula One car. You can do that too. Like no matter what you think of, for the most part, you can just have enough money to then be that thing. You want to be bulletproof? Super easy. Buy a tank. Like, you know? Oh, you want to be able to change into a million different people at once? Okay, buy an army. Boom. There you go. Our government does that all the time. And, you know, you got Twitter that can mobilize a gajillion people to do dumb shit at the drop of a tweet, right? Just because you have money. You didn't have to pay them. You just had to say it with some fucking herring. What's that?
Shout out to Trump.
Yeah, right. And Trump, Musk, fucking what's that bald nigga's name?
Bezos.
There it is. Like, good luck on that divorce, big homie. I know you're probably struggling right now, but like, like fucking, you can do anything with money, and that is a scary concept. And realistically, governments are supposed to be involved with stuff like that, but even they're being paid off by this type of stuff. So it ends up being a situation where you can't even necessarily expect the powers that be to hold those folks with that level of money back. It actually has a term that's not at all new. It's called a plutocracy. You know, it's plutocratic. When you have so much money, you can buy influence in politics at a very high level, and we've seen it happen. That's why we don't have unions over here when everybody else in the world does. For like, or not everyone, but a lot of other places do. You know, because we know what's best for us, even though it's killing us.
And so, speaking of money as a superpower, right? And not to just like switch so hard, but like, money as a superpower then turns into like, okay, well, there's people who use money for evil.
Yep.
And there's people who use money for good.
Yep.
And so, for me, my money right now, or at least for the past 10 years since I graduated high school, has been tied into trying to educate myself so that I can reach a certain point, right?
Yeah.
Well, but in order to do that, I had to go into a system that was evil.
Truly.
All my money had to be poured into an evil system in order for me to get something good out of it.
You sound like Batman.
But yeah, like that's the system. Like I had to pour all this money into this college system. I was literally just reading an article, probably this morning, I think it was, where they were like, there was a girl who wanted to go to her dream college in like Chicago, and the financial aid system only covered enough where she still would have to pay $6,000 a semester out of pocket.
Yeah.
And so my thing's like, so you need to tell me I can't even go to a school that benefits me because of your views on how much it costs.
Well, before you move off that, did she have any bootstraps?
Nah, man, she didn't have any bootstraps.
Well, that's your problem right there.
I know, man. That's the difficult part about it, right?
For sure.
You gotta make sure when you buy the boots,
They come with the straps.
they gotta come with the straps.
They gotta come with the straps. Everybody knows this. This is what America was founded on: bootstraps and slave labor. Like,
but even like certifications. So I have a friend of mine, one of my best bros over here, that did not go to college. He was like, okay, I'm not gonna use that system.
yeah.
Well, he still had to pay money
Yep.
to these high-level systems. Like these high-level systems that are up there say, okay, well, this certification costs this much money. Well, why do you get to say it costs that much money?
Because fuck you, that's
Who
why.
are you? who are you to tell me that it costs that much money? Now, everything is going to have some cost. I understand that. But at the same time, I'm like, there's no regulation for how much something costs.
Yeah.
There's no regulation for it.
And we're seeing that now. You know?
And that's literally what we're seeing right now.
Like everybody's on the. I'm not gonna get terribly political with it. I will say this as far as the politics are concerned. Sorry, if you blame the president for the price of something going up, and it's not, you can't directly make a 1-to-1 comparison as to why that is. Shut up, just shut up. So it is not inherently Biden's fault that any of the prices are going up right now. If anything, it's Congress and some lower level people's fault. But past that, we're at a point where we have the internet. We can see what they're doing now. We can see all the moves they're making, the laws that they sign off on. They're like, yeah, that sounds fucking Gucci as shit. Let's get it. Like, and they're doing it blatantly because they know they can't be stopped. What are you gonna do? Shoot them? What are you gonna do? Shoot them? It's actually ridiculous. Like, truly, the way that we can see these people making these moves in all these different ways, and we feel like we're powerless to stop it, but that's because we're pitted against each other with the carrot on the stick of, oh, well, they want your money, or they're using your money inappropriately, or this, that, and the other. It's like, dude, there are companies, corporations. I know I've harped on this before, but hey, until it changes, it's still a current event. There are corporations that are treated like human beings, literally. Like, by law, it is enshrined in law that these corporations are legally distinct entities from any other person. So, they do what is considerably sociopathic shit. Is that good or bad? Bad, objectively. Nobody should be a sociopath, you know? But they can get away with it because it's not literally a person, it's just legally a person. So, when they start doing wild shit, and the government's like, oh, well, we can't do anything about it. They got too much money. It's like, okay, then what's your purpose? What is your whole purpose? Are you being paid by them? Because I know you're getting paid by my taxes, right? And my taxes aren't much, but they are what you ask for. So either stop taking my taxes from me and let me keep that shit, and just take all your money from these billionaires you're already taking money from, or stop taking it from them and hold them accountable so that they can be a part of the taxpayers and I can pay less regardless. Because, like, these billionaires and shit, when they pay, like, $7.50 in personal income taxes, but made several $100 billion, like, somewhere near, not quite at $500 billion, a number completely incomprehensible to the normal any human really. Like, you couldn't count to 1 trillion. You couldn't count to half a trillion. You probably couldn't count to 1 billion starting right now until you die. But regardless, you you
Yes.
you end up in a situation where you only make as much, like, even if you're like the best person in the world, quote unquote, on paper, like, oh, the Bill and Belinda Gates Foundation, I gave so much money, yada yada yada. It's like, yeah, but there are still people that died making your products, right? Like, physically, literally, in real life, died making your products. So yeah, you made several $1 billion, and you probably gave away hundreds of millions, maybe a small number of billions, and that's cool. You didn't go broke off of that, so you're fine. I don't feel bad for you. I feel bad about the people who died. So you get to have like this little press tour. You get the good PR of being, one of the good billionaires. But there are families, plural, multiple families of people who just don't have a father anymore. Don't have a mother, a son, daughter, uncle, auntie, anybody. It doesn't even have to be related to somebody. Just people are dying on your watch. You're not paying their families out of those billions. It's going to some foundation that you get tax write-offs on. We can see this shit now. That's evil.
Literally. And literally based off that taxes. So it brought up a thought in my head. Literally this past week. So I'm a high school teacher for those of you who don't know out in the world who may be listening. We literally did a project this week based off a budget. So the kids had to pick a job out there that they wanted. They were picking all types of random stuff that was paying them hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Yep.
That was besides the point. What blew their mind was the fact when I told them that was their gross income and they had to find their net income by taking out taxes.
Mm-hmm.
They saw 30% of their money
disappeared.
out, and they were like, what? I have to do what?
Right.
And I was just throwing on, like, literally, being alive is expensive in America.
Truly.
And so, like, but even then, like, it's just like they were so confused. And their education system that we built has not prepared them for the fact that once they get done with all this educational stuff at the beginning of their lives, they're basically feeding into this system. This system that still uses free labor to this day. Speaking of free labor, I just got through an entire year of student teaching for free.
Yep.
I literally just did my teacher's job for a year for $0.00.
Hey, at least you didn't have to pay any taxes on that, right?
And so what's crazy about that is, right, they said, oh, well, we can't pay you until you get your degree. Now, this is not to put business out there, and if my, employer is listening,
Don't dox anybody.
I appreciate all your money.
There it is.
And, y'all do what y'all gotta do. That being said, I'm also now aware of the fact that that degree has nothing to do with the actual job of teaching.
Yep.
And so that lie that they tell us about, oh, we can't pay you until you get a degree, it's like that whole statement is completely bogus. It's a lie.
Yeah. It doesn't even make sense on his face.
Oh yeah, it's a complete lie. And so what you're also starting to realize is, and I know I always throw something sports related in there, so just go with me.
Hey, let's hit it.
So college athletes, I'm not sure how much you have heard about this.
Zero.
But for years, college athletes were not allowed to make any money.
Oh shit, I actually did know that one. Holy shit.
So there's this famous YouTuber guy.
Yeah.
Goes by the name of Destroy.
Okay.
Shout out to him. He was a punter, not even like a high like a receiver, quarterback, running back, any of that. He was a punter.
Mm-hmm.
Because he made YouTube videos based on his college experience playing football, he had to either give up his scholarship or keep his YouTube channel. Now, he had that very difficult choice to make. Give up the little pennies that they were literally giving him, and I'm saying pennies compared to how much money the actual programs were making.
Oh yeah. College football is a fucking
Programs
scam.
out here making millions, billions off these kids.
College football is a goddamn scam. NFL is a scam too, but at least they make millions for getting, heavily concussed.
Right. And so, like, the college system just within the past 3 years,
Yeah.
is finally allowing them to make money. Because here was the issue, right? They were selling these kids jerseys.
True.
So, like, let's say there was like this famous like college kid, and he wore the jersey number 5. Now they wouldn't put his name on it.
But they put that 5 on everything.
But they put that 5 on it, and everybody knew whose jersey that was.
Exactly. I mean, shit, we've all played NCAA games, right?
Oh yeah.
They got their names on there. They sell their likenesses on there. They're signing away their rights. That's a perfect tie back to the slavery from before. You are for free playing a game. Like, oh, it's a game, blah blah blah. You can still get hurt and killed in that game. It's happened before. So like,
yes, it has.
Yeah, like multiple times, and we just don't talk about it because it's America's pastime or whatever the fuck kind of bullshit they try to spout to make everybody feel good about it. But yeah, they put a bunch of people, a lot of them black, a lot of them this is their only way to go to college, so they are carrot on a stick yet again. They're like, hey, you want a better education, right? Well, the only thing you can benefit us with is your running prowess, your ability to throw a ball. I need you to be a big, strong, strapping young black lad and stand in a line and get hit repeatedly.
Your physical body.
Exactly. You wanna get smarter, right? You big brain boy. I need you to be big brawny boy. For me out there on the field, let's get it. Like get out there. Fucking hit somebody. I want to see it. I want to hear the crunch. Like that's
shout out to Nick Saban.
jeniusAF has been sponsored by. Nah, we are not sponsored by anybody. Don't let them tell you otherwise. But yeah, it's legitimately a really close tie-in. Like to this, it's almost a 1-to-1. Bringing black folks in. Granted, they have to promise them something, so it's like, hey, you get money that you never get to touch because it's just going straight to the university anyway, which eventually matriculates back down to us regardless. And we get millions, maybe the low billions of dollars spread out, but still millions, maybe hundreds of millions after it's all said and done off of you, for all intents and purposes, just beating the shit out of yourself, killing yourself over this shit. And it's like, I mean, thanks for the education, but now I can't, form new mental synapses because I've been concussed so many times. It's hard for me to produce words. Then what?
So, let me give you some quick numbers here that I'm literally just looking at right now.
Let's go.
This is not the entire season. This is 1 month.
Yeah.
Basketball has this whole thing in college called March Madness.
Yep.
March Madness is worth $1 billion. The singular month is worth $1 billion to the NCAA every year.
Goddamn.
Not the entire season. Not multiple sports. 1 month from one sport.
And the kids get how much of that?
Are you ready for this total?
I'm not sure.
The kids get a pat on the back.
And how much of that is taxed? Do they get to keep all five fingers and the palm, or do they have to give up the pinky?
And so that's the craziness of how this system is built. Money is not the evil thing. It's the people.
It's people willing to use other people's well being almost like just to make more money. It's like the
And
same.
that's what's
Go for it. My bad.
no, but that's what's crazy about the system that we live in right now is that money has never been the problem. And this is just a quick anecdote. So this past couple weeks, we have like this little. I work at the YMCA as well. You know, two jobs because I was working for free.
Yeah, definitely.
And so now I'm working my butt off.
Yeah,
And these kids, they're like play money that we allow the kids to play with and make believe and buy stuff, right?
yeah.
This is the singular thing the entire year that has caused the most issues is them playing with money.
Damn.
They argue over the money. They fight over the money. He has more money than me. He won't share the money.
Yo, that's fucking gross. That's fucking gross.
It has nothing to do with the money itself. It's that these kids have grown up seeing
Yep.
from other people how money is used.
They know what the money means. Like, even though it's not real, they know what the money means. It's ingrained in us. It's taught to us. It's taught to us more than like ABCs and 1, 2, 3s by this point. You'll never learn your taxes. You'll never learn budgeting and finances, but you'll learn that you need to make another dollar for another motherfucker so he can use your labor against you. You'll learn that easy, quick, like
And they're not going to hesitate.
ever.
They're not going to hesitate to do that. And unfortunately, what it really comes down to is a lot of these black and brown kids who don't have access to as much money, when they see a lot of money, they gravitate towards it.
Definitely. And like,
And now they're caught up.
it
But, yeah, go ahead, bro.
no, I was just gonna say, like, it's one of those things where you don't really think about it until you're thinking about it. Oop, my bad. Is have you everybody's played Monopoly, right?
Yep.
How many games of Monopoly do you think you finished, percentage wise?
Probably less than 2%.
Right. And why is that?
It just takes too much time
Mm-hmm. Too much time to do what?
to actually finish the game.
Because it's a it's showing you a system that doesn't work. It's set up to not work. Like, literally. It's set up to be like, hey, I'm going to fuck you over as hard as you will physically allow me, or financially, I guess, fiscally. There we go. As hard as you will fiscally allow me to do so. But there's nothing you can do about it. Even in-game, ingrained in the original game from God knows how many decades before. One of the safest positions to be in, and this is the grossest thing I can think of to show children.
Oh my God, no.
One of the safest positions to be in when you have no money, no property, no nothing is where?
That's crazy. It's in jail.
Mm-hmm. Isn't that fucking wild? Isn't that like the wildest shit you've ever thought of?
That's wild.
Like, hey, I got Parkway Avenue or whatever the fuck. I got the boardwalk. I got all the pink pieces, the red pieces. I own all the railroads. I got this. I got that. Don't land there. Don't land here. I will fuck you up. Don't pay any taxes or anything. Take your ass to fucking jail. That's it. That's all you can do. You better hope I run out of money somehow. And this community chest shit ain't nothing. No, oh, you gotta pay 10% of all your money. What's 10% of $1 billion? Suck my dick. Like, and you're just sitting in jail. You're just sitting in jail. Like, if I ever get out this motherfucker, I'm killing that dude first and taking everything he's got. Because that's all you can do. They've put you in a situation where that's literally all you can do. And realistically, that was kind of a perfect segue, because that's another part of the whole money situation. The only legal form of slavery, constitutionally, feel free to look it up, the only legal form of slavery in America, and slavery just being, wageless labor with, some extra steps thrown in. Let's not negate that.
Oh
Is to
yeah.
be in prison. So it never went away. The free labor never went anywhere, really. They just changed it. They tweaked it a little bit. They put a little Nixon on it. Put a little Reagan on it. And now we still have slavery, and you'll hear folks in America all the time just like, oh, well, we were one of the first countries. We were the first country, big ass lie, to get rid of slavery. It's like, bro, it's still legal. Not only is it still happening, because it's still happening, there's still, sex slaves all over the fucking place. That's fucking disgusting. We already heard about Epstein's Island, right? Everybody heard about that, so y'all can drop that shit expeditiously. Like, we already know all this shit's still going on. But in our Constitution, that shit that these Supreme Court judges are like, oh, well, I believe it's the most mystical, magical fucking piece of paper in all of American history. It's like, yeah, that shit still says that if I go to prison, you can literally use me for slave labor. They use them to fight fires in the forest that there's no way they started. They were in prison. That's not how that works. They are using people to make free money off of them. It's just slavery. And it's like, that is today. Whenever you hear this, because it'll be up on YouTube, obviously, unless you're listening to this on YouTube, in which case, what up, YouTube? But it is literally enshrined in our most quote-unquote sacred legal documents, yada, 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 all this mysticism about paper with words on it. Same with money. But it gets to a point where you have to take a step back and just look at what they're telling you. It's like, oh yeah, you're not worth anything, because if we pull you over on the wrong day or for the wrong reasons or smell the wrong things on you, you can just go to prison. The end. And if we don't like you, we can say that you were roughing up other prisoners and you'll be in there even longer. Or you looked at me funny and you got in a fight with a cop because I beat your ass and I don't want to get in trouble about it. So now you're in here even longer, even though you didn't do anything. It's like, oh, go for
like
it.
that system though, that jail system, like that's worldwide though. Because even shout out, and this is throw another sports reference at you. So
You
there's
son of a bitch.
a basketball player named Brittany Griner, who's still in Russia in jail right now.
Yep.
American citizen in jail and just stuck.
Definitely.
That system, and there's no telling what's happening over there.
Definitely.
There's no telling what's happening over there. No kind of what kind of free labor she's having to do while she's over there.
You want to hear something messed up?
Go for it.
There's something to be said about homogeneity, racism, tribalism, jingoism, nationalism, all that good shit, right? And as it pertains to prisons and the prison industrial complex, obviously Brittany Griner being over there in Russia is muy fucked up, and we can see that, you, me, Ava the Nomad, word up, but we can all see this stuff going on, but only from our own point of view. And I mean that in the sense of, I've looked into other prisons in other places. Russia does have some of the worst prisons, period. Just in general, you can. They don't have a lot of money to begin with, and that's not me shitting on Russia or Russians, although y'all are kind of wilding right now, but the people seem to be fine. I'm just going to leave it at that. Politically, I'm not getting into it. The people, though, I'm sure they're fine people. But her being over there is due to the fact that her being over here, being a black woman, being black and a woman, let's break it down properly, she's not going to be treated any better over here. Because think about it. What if it was,
Oh no, she's not. She's definitely not going to be treated any better.
Yeah.
Because the reason she's still stuck over there.
yeah, like what if it was Timothy Chalamet? What if it was Timothy Chalamet? He was, 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 That real itty bitty white dude that's been on everybody's minds, like the male version of Taylor Swift, you know? Like if he gets caught up in some Russian espionage or some shit, and I don't believe his ass would touch a bench in a fucking Russian prison before we already went and glassed that entire place over with a nuke. I'm not saying we should. Don't get me wrong. I'm not pro violence by any means. I'm just saying America is inherently, by its own doctrine, pro violence, so they would not allow that to go down. Fucking Leonardo DiCaprio, if you wanted to be a little bit more old school with it. Like, yeah, he would not stay in there worth a shit. Not worth a shit.
Well, but it's because he makes America too much money.
I mean, he makes America too much money, but on top of that, it's a face that they associate with that money. There is a particular kind of face they associate with that kind of money, right? Because, like, picture a billionaire right now. Now describe that billionaire. Like, don't even think about it too. Don't even think about it too hard. Just like billionaire, describe it. At no point will you describe Brittany Griner, ever, and that's unfortunate. That's really fucking unfortunate. But that's the world we live in. I don't think billionaires should exist. Just hot take, I guess. Whatever. Millionaires, but billionaires, no. I don't feel like billionaires should exist. But when you think of them, you know who you're picturing. And it's not someone who looks like Brittany Griner. It's not someone who looks like me. It's not someone who looks like you. It's just not.
No. And that kind of that's literally a perfect segue. Like, when you think about it, you're looking at those Elon Musk,
Yep.
Jeff Bezos.
Yep.
And what's really crazy now is how much influence they have over money.
It's a plutocracy.
Literally, we saw what money is starting to shift into with all this digital currency and NFTs and everything.
Mm-hmm.
What we're starting to see is, oh, he can influence stuff.
Yeah. Heavily.
We literally saw a literal digital currency that people were pouring money into
Mm-hmm.
get tanked because of a tweet. That happened.
You know,
Because of a quote-unquote billionaire.
you know what that would be like in not digital money terms? Like imagine J.D. Rockefeller, right? Way back in his prime, all that good stuff. Super rich dude, everybody knows him, all that good shit. And he just goes out to the middle of Times Square and says like, "Man, fuck money. Money is stupid." And then puts all his money into gold real quick. And just tanks the dollar and then puts all his gold back and gets his money back, and now it's right back up. You know? Like, that would never happen because there's too many checks and balances. Obviously, I got that mixed up, but I mean, it is what it is. You get the general idea. You're never going to be able to do something that massive, that fast, because we have laws against it. We have the SEC, I'm pretty sure that's what it's called. Security Exchange Commission? Yeah, that's right. But, you know, we have the SEC to make sure that people with that amount of money don't fuck around with everybody else's money. Because when you have that amount, it touches everybody. You know, if you have enough to give everyone in the world, man, woman, child, invalid, genius, everyone, $2, then that's too much money. That's too much goddamn money. That you are affecting people's lives with tweets. Period. You just are. And that is disgusting. No one should be able to do that. But you can because you have that much. But it used to be that once you got to a certain point, people would have a closer eye on you. They'd be like, hey, where's all this money going? Where's this going? Where's that going? You need to go ahead and file that with us. You need to tell us what you're doing with this or what you're doing with that. And that's fine. Once you make it to $1 billion, I don't think all your money should just be up in the air anymore. I think you forfeit that right. Because now, like I said, you are affecting other people's lives with your words, you know? It's like if the president were to go on stage and just say like some wild shit that you would hear on like a 4chan post. Like, yeah, you can't really do that. Former presidents be damned. But like, it gets to a point where you have to see the digital currency and the Ponzi schemes that are going on with it, the little pyramid scheme almost that are going on with it. Like, oh, buy my NFT, buy my cryptocurrency. It's like, what's the end goal? It's clearly a pump and dump. He's done it multiple times. The SEC got involved and they were like, hey, there's no law against this technically. So we can't technically do anything about it. And that's super fucked up. But, rich people aren't just going to give up that easily. Clearly, he knew that he could get away with it because he probably has enough money to buy every lawyer in the world twice. At least the good ones. But you can't stop somebody at that certain point. Like I said with the superpowers bit from earlier, once you get to a certain amount of money, crimes aren't even crimes anymore. You ever think about how Superman just throws people through buildings? Like hella property damage, like crazy amount, like world-shattering property damage, and then he goes to his Fortress of Solitude and takes a quick nap, and everything's built back up the next day. Except for this is the real world, so that doesn't really happen anymore. There are rich people that drive drunk on a regular basis, and they just pay the fine off because that's the price of driving drunk to them. There are people, and I don't remember his name. I really wish I did, but I'm not trying to put too much out there because he might. There's a bunch of weird stuff that went into his story, but the details of it is that the dude accidentally killed somebody. I'm pretty sure he accidentally killed somebody, then went from California to Nevada, assumed a different identity entirely with his crazy amount of money he had, and everybody in that town he moved to knew he wasn't who he said he was, but he had so much money you couldn't stop him from doing it. And it's like, it was either Nevada or Arizona. I get a little fuzzy on the details. It's been a couple years since I heard the story. But it's like, you can just do whatever. You can kill people and get away with it. The phone that I'm using right now probably has blood on it. I would assume so. And I hate to even say that because I need my phone, I would prefer that it was just made in a factory with robots because I know this is going to bite me in the ass once the revolution happens, but I don't give a fuck about a robot's feelings. I'm sorry, y'all. But, these are people. I don't care about money enough to put people at risk to have it. Like, I'm sure anybody listening to this that's roughly our age, or younger especially, I've seen that happen, has been in a job at some point where they have been absolutely beat down and defeated. Sometimes literally. Like physically beat down, but at least mentally. And you put yourself through that because you're like, hey, I need this money. That is barbaric. That is truly barbaric. And that is a level of barbarism that we pretend like doesn't happen, that we pretend like the natives used to have between each other, even though they didn't, that we pretend like African people from, the Congo, from Kenya, Nigeria, Senegal, like all these different places, like we pretend like they did, which they didn't, We never made people work themselves literally to mental and physical death to give them minimum wage.
And that is literally where, like, my entire, like, conversation with a lot of my kids this past week is, like, going to. It's like, hey, right now, all these jobs that you want, they're going to cost you something. And unfortunately, that cost is going to be a lot more than people are willing to pay.
Yeah.
And so that's where you get people that get separated into these tiers of, oh, well, you're young and you don't have any knowledge, so you make this much money. Who are you to tell anybody they can only make $7.25?
Honestly. It goes back to that meme that they always talk about, like, hey, I'm looking for somebody who's 18 years old with 10 years of experience for this minimum wage position, flipping burgers or whatever it is. It's like, really? Where do you think that guy is? Who is that guy? I want to meet that guy. Like, I want to give him a better job. Like,
and it's so ridiculous because they split us up into tiers. It just reminds me of this funny thing that I had experienced. So there's this guy who, for right now, I'll leave his name out of stuff.
Yeah.
But he works for Primerica.
Okay.
which is like this. I'm not sure if they have Primerica in Alabama, but like this big insurance thing. It's nationwide.
Gotcha.
So he's like this big CEO thing.
Okay.
Well, when I was working for a catering company, he would order catering.
Okay.
The first time I went up to this guy's house, because he's like some big vice president in their company.
Yeah.
I drove up to their neighborhood, and most of these people, when they order catering, it's usually a gated community.
Mm-hmm.
Used to that. You got to go through like security to get in.
Yeah.
They got a lot of money. They spend a lot of money. It's okay. So I drive into the neighborhood. I check in with security.
Yep.
Drive through the first gate. I'm like, all right, where's this guy's house at? I'm just driving and driving and driving, following GPS.
Yeah.
Now, all these houses that I'm passing are multi-million-dollar houses.
So like a 1-bedroom, right?
Like, something like that.
Yeah.
But like, multi-million-dollar houses.
Gotcha.
I think I remember specifically passing a house in like a middle of a lake-ish area. It had a moat.
God damn.
It had a moat that went around the house.
That man doesn't have money. He has medieval money. That's gross. Like.
Wait for it. I'm not there yet.
Oh Jesus.
To even get to that area, there was a second gate.
Shut the fuck up. Shut the fuck up.
Wait a minute. There is a second gate inside the gated community.
If you tell me this nigga has a drawbridge over that fucking moat around his place, I'm gonna hit you the next time I see you, straight up.
It blew my mind that there was a gate inside of a gated community.
When you delivered his food, did you have to call him my lord? That's so fucking dumb. Like,
I was so confused. Like, there was this whole like row of houses
yeah.
that were inside the gated community.
You know what that is, right? That's a perfect metaphor for social economic stratification. Because you were in the 10%. You were driving through the literal 10% to get up to the 1%. That is the weirdest fucking most perfect analogy. I would think of an analogy like that and then discard it because it sounds so fucking fake. Like that.
Like, I wish I was lying to you. But he literally, like, it was a gated community inside of another gated community.
That is disgusting. See, like, whenever
You couldn't get to those people's houses unless you had another key to get past the second gate.
Yeah, let's calm down on the I can't get past the gate defense, because I'll get in a gate if I want to get in a goddamn gate. That's not a problem. Like, you will not stop me. If Trump can put up the world's flimsiest wall, and like Hispanic people can still cross over it, under it, and between it, like, I can get past your flimsy little bullshit gate, come up to your door, ding dong, ditch you, and leave some flaming dog shit on your porch. Let you know where I'm coming from. You're not gonna stop me with a goddamn gate, period. But I understand the idea and I respect it until I get some bolt cutters. But for legal purposes, everything I just said was a joke.
But yeah, man, that entire like scenario was wild to me. And I just had to like, it still puzzles me to this day that there can be that level of quote unquote segregation.
Oh yeah, that's like legitimate. That's ingrained, like everything else we've talked about so far. Cause like they can't make it illegal for you to be black, Hispanic, Asian, etc. But they can make it illegal for you to be poor in the wrong areas. And then they can do everything in their power to make you poor. And being poor isn't evil. Being rich isn't evil. So, like, money isn't the problem. It's the people using it. Because you could be rich and then bring other people up with you, but, that's the riffraff. You don't want them in the gated community with you, right? But
no, not at all. Why would you want those people?
Exactly. There needs to be...
They're wearing dirty clothes.
Yeah, yeah, that's not Ralph Lauren. That's FUBU. But like, anybody who doesn't fuck with FUBU can fuck right off. That shit was comfortable as hell. We really let down the dude who made FUBU straight up. But that's a different discussion. But for us bias, I got you, black people. Yeah, but we don't have you, dog. Sorry, but nah, like it. It really bums me out. That isn't even like the level I want to be at. That shit deeply saddens me when I think about the fact that there are people whose entire life goal is to make sure not only that they make more money, but to make sure other people don't get to their level. That's fucking gross. That's honestly a reason why I kind of stopped listening to all, just taking in all hip hop. Like, I still listen to, obviously, I listen to hip hop or whatever. Obviously to you, not to the fans. They don't know shit about me necessarily in that regard. But, like, you can only hear so much about how somebody's going to bring their hood up with them and then watch them not do that before you're like, oh, you were lying. All right, that was a lie what you just did there. Now what? Because you're still talking about how you got your strap on you. You're still talking about how you hold it down for your block, for your hood, and all that shit. And that's all to the good, dude. I can appreciate that if you're actually doing it. You know, I don't affiliate with gangs or anything. I can't say too much on that note, and I don't want to get shot. But like, you know, if you have money and you are not doing what's necessary to bring people that don't have money up to your level, then you're a bitch, and I mean that. Like, if you have any amount of money, like I do it now and I'm broke. Like, if you have any amount of money and you are not trying to bring, like, reach back and bring somebody up to your level, because all that's going to do is push you further up. The more good people you have around you, the more good people you can bring up to your level, the further they're going to push you and the more you can bring them up with you. That's point blank period, works every fucking time. Trickle down has never worked, will never work because of people that are in the gated community of the gated community. It's never gonna fucking happen. But one thing that does work is that if you have a really, 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 really fucking big ass cup, right? And then you pour it into a smaller cup underneath that bigger cup, that cup's gonna run over. And eventually, if you do that enough, it's going to bring that cup further up, because that's how buoyancy works. So while trickle down has never worked, spilling over does. And eventually, when that cup fills up and it's being lifted up, it'll spill over into some other cups that are underneath it. That works. But it's an active thing that you have to do. Trickle down is passive and stupid, and the fact that a president said it and people are still trying to say that it works even though there's no verifiable proof ever of it having worked ever, you know, like just passively like, oh, if you give me all your money, eventually it'll make its way back to you somehow. That's the dumbest shit I've ever heard. But if you give back to the communities that built you, or even with just taxes, if we all pay our fair share, mind you, which means a lot of us pay less and a handful of people pay a lot fucking more, then it builds the whole nation up better. Jobs get, you know, made more. Hey, have you ever driven on whatever road in whatever town you're in right now and hit a massive pothole and did that thing where you go real quick because you're not sure if that was an expensive noise or not? Yeah, that could be fixed if people paid their fair share and actively poured back into their community, actively poured back into the nation that built them. But they don't, because they're a bunch of fuckers.
On that note, the main point of this conversation was to really dive into the topic and just really see how money has developed in this country and how we've used it to build this nation up.
Yeah.
And how it's now just kind of turned into this controversial topic about how it should be used. And even though there are certain aspects of money that may seem uncomfortable to like kind of delve into when it comes to like trading, exchanging goods and services, and how money should be used here and how money shouldn't be used. Because people will go back and forth all the time about, well, this shouldn't be something that we should have to pay for. And I can understand that when it comes to like, okay, well, we shouldn't have to pay money when it comes to education. We
Yeah.
shouldn't have to pay money when it comes to like
Healthcare.
healthcare and stuff like that. We should be able to live and not struggle.
Truly. There's so many places
But
that do, like, better than we do.
and definitely, like, there's a whole bunch of countries, like literally the one right above us, that does healthcare
Right?
for free.
There are people
And so there's certain
in our country right now that go to Mexico, the one we're supposed to be better than or whatever. Like, and they go to Mexico for healthcare services. The fuck?
and it's just like we shouldn't have to do that, but unfortunately we do.
Yeah.
And so money ends up being this very controversial topic, but we just wanted to debunk a couple things and really explain money isn't the evil part. It's how we as people use it, and it's our choices that really matter in the end.
Absolutely. All right. Well, thanks for rocking with us, those who have. If you want to listen on YouTube, it's jeniusAF, stands for Genius as Fuck, little J, big AF. I've been Solo, this is Slim. We're going to go ahead and leave out of here, but obviously we got the sign off. You need to move with love in your heart and in all things. Peace.